Welcome. Namaste. So, Sachin already gave us the information about the sanitizer, and which is part of the antimicrobial. The second part of the antimicrobial, we are going to be discussing about the disinfectant. Here I have Odoban, which we use it to clean the floors and also for washing our clothes too. So he's going to discuss more about the disinfectant, how it is going to be effective in killing some of the germs.
Welcome again, everyone. So now we are here to talk about disinfectants. Disinfectants are probably the most useful tool in our arsenal against all kinds of microbes, at least at home. We're not going to focus so much on sterilants in this series because, to be honest, they're not much use to the layperson, and they're really only of any significance in A, the laboratory, or B, in hospitals and surgical settings, because that's the only time you need to make certain that everything is absolutely sterile. And also, the conditions needed to make something sterile are quite harsh. But we'll just go over one method really quickly because it is foolproof. It is very robust, meaning you can't defeat it. It's the tried and true method of pressure cooking. That's right, pressure cooking. In other words, we in the science field call it autoclaving also. But this is when basically you put whatever it is that you want to sterilize into a pressure cooker of sorts. And then you just let it sit there. After the first whistle blows, after you see the steam rising and it blows for the first time, keep it on for about another 30 minutes. At that point, you can essentially consider whatever it is sterile. Of course, make sure it's clean before you do that. So this will work against even cloths and pretty much everything. But again, it's important to use pressure cooker, not boiling water. Boiling water won't kill all bacteria, by the way. It won't. Heck, many viruses can even get by boiling water. It's really not that harsh. In perspective, that is. But under pressure, steam becomes much more powerful. And that is what really makes pressure cooking so effective. So pressure cook whenever you can. Now, on to the disinfectants. Now, when we talk about disinfectants versus sanitizers, a lot of the time, it's a debate of concentration. So here, like we saw earlier, this is disinfectant. However, if you read the label on here, there's a bunch of different applications. You can apply it as a sanitizer. For example, if you put it 5 parts of this per 1 gallon of water, 5 ounces of this per 1 gallon of water, you can also become a disinfectant, let's say, at 7 ounces of this per gallon of water. So again, it's all a matter of concentration, because at a lower concentration, it'll only sanitize things. At a higher concentration, though, it'll disinfect things. Another thing to keep in mind is always read the labels. They're very useful. For example, to sanitize something, you only need about 30 seconds, sometimes 60 seconds. To disinfect, however, whatever the surface is, must be wet with whatever the antimicrobial that you're using for at least 10 minutes. 10 minutes is a long time. And you must remember, that surface must remain wet for that entire time for it to be fully disinfected. Now, how do you evaluate when to use a sanitizer versus when to use a disinfectant? Well, in general, the more possibly contaminated something is, the harsher conditions and harsher measures you need to use. So if something has been in contact with someone who has been sick, and it probably will have some pathogen in it, you want to definitely go for the disinfectant. But if something is just, you're just routinely cleaning something and you just want to be sure, just as a check, just as a safety check, as a measure to prevent, that's when you can use sanitize. That's when you can use a sanitizer, sorry. So even bleach, which is the most popular and also one of the most effective disinfectants, This can also be used as a sanitizer, again, if it's at a low concentration, and the same rule applies, only 60 seconds. But again, to disinfect, you need 10 whole minutes. Now, next I'm going to show you some practical methods of disinfecting some foodware, like dishes, which will prove to be very helpful in our daily applications of disinfectants.
Thank you, Sachin.